welcome to issue 146 of the Captain's Log. You'll have to forgive me if I look a little bit tired, slightly jaded today. I just got back from Norway. It was a long trip. I didn't get back till early this morning and still recovering somewhat from COVID the other week. So I'm not at my finest this Friday, but I've just been writing about the journey, the experience. Being in Norway is always wonderful, a privilege. And I took the train across from Bergen up to Gul, where I was staying, and it's a wonderful ride. You go up past the fjords and past the open water up into the mountains onto the mountain plateau, which even now in May is snowbound. Although the rivers are swollen with water, the melt is clearly underway. But all along that line, you periodically pull into these stations, the orange weathered wood stations, and the clusters of houses around it. People live all along that route. And I found myself wondering sort of how, what do you do up there? The farming season must be very short. Of course, there's tourism, there's skiing, but it must be a hard living. And these communities, just you run through them one after the other. And then, of course, I was there because of a community, the Nordefco community coming together. It's a group of people I've known over a number of years and been lucky enough to meet up with, and friends coming in from around the world. Just a small community, but a community of experts, real interesting conversations across the 3 days. So kind of traveling through communities and into a community, and I was sharing some new work there around collective capability, social metacognition, and social learning more broadly. So it was all about community this week, and I guess this is a community. In fact, a number of people at the event who I hadn't seen for 5 years or so were saying, "Oh, I still follow along in this space with the Captain's Log and with the other writing and publications." And it's funny, these kind of weaker social ties we maintain over time around our shared interests. I was reminded that being social, being sociable, isn't just a nice thing, although of course it is nice. It's also core to who we are. The example I used in my session this week was to say it's the thing that means we're able to come together and then specialize. So if I go out to gather firewood, I rely on the fact that you're building the shelter. If I come back and you've just been sat round staring at the sky, I'll probably be annoyed. That's sort of antisocial thing to do. So our trust that we have in each other to do the things that we will do, to hold our specialisms, that together allow us to achieve more than we could alone. It's very innate. It's worth remembering that everything else is made up. Our systems of law, our systems of citizenship, our systems of organization and productivity, these are all made up. But the social aspect is very innate to us. That's why we feel it so strongly. I actually, as the conference finished yesterday, I stayed on for a few hours to deliver another session remotely to a group talking about inclusive leadership. And it felt like the right time, funnily enough. Everything came together, a number of bodies of research, the Identity Project work, obviously the community building work, some of this newer work looking at social currencies, to talk about how inclusion and exclusion are innate to us. Sometimes it's easy that we use a language that we want everyone to be together, but we are not naturally all together. And increasingly, I think our challenge is not to create these sort of fictional and idealistic spaces where everyone's together, but rather to talk about interconnection and how we exist within these multi-layered structures, the tribal, the social, into the formal organizational. So engaged with each other, finding respect and dialogue with each other, but also celebrating difference with each other. These speak to me of the skills around a more inclusive model of leadership, not inclusive by making everybody the same as us, or feeling the need to repeat after each other the things we hold to be true. I'm increasingly less interested in ideas of organizations talking about shared value and shared purpose and shared language, which we impose on people. We know this doesn't really work. To tell you the words that you should say is very different from asking you what words you would say. So these are the ideas that I've been exploring, playing around with this week. I've really enjoyed this trip. I think partly because of the landscape and this sense of connection. Some journeys you make, you jump into an aeroplane and you sit in it and you read or watch a film, and then you land somewhere in this hotel which feels separate from the community that it's in. But this trip for me was lots of trains and walking and buses, and just I felt very grounded within the landscape and had a sense of travel, a sense of distance. It's funny, your sense of distance doesn't always equate to miles and kilometers. Sometimes it can just be a feeling inside. So anyway, that's it. Community this week. You'll also see I've written below the two new cohorts kicking off into the quiet leadership work in June. Do feel free to share those with anybody. That's the 4-week journey looking at humility, kindness, fairness, and grace. It's open to everybody. Everyone's welcome in that space. And also, I was very fortunate in Norway that Say was there as well, and we managed to spend quite a lot of time working on the generative AI book. I feel confident that will be out towards the end of June, so you'll hear me talking more about that in the weeks ahead, but I'm feeling excited about that work. It's really taking shape nicely. We filled out pretty much all the main sections. It just needs really good rewriting and editing, but we made a lot of progress with it. Okay, I hope you've had a great week. I'll see you soon.